I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Stupid O'Clock. Joe Dog is not feeling well tonight. His voice was going. And Stephanie is not feeling well tonight either. At the moment, it is just myself and John Scarborough. We expect Bill to show up anytime now. And Chris said he would drop in later. So it's not just going to be two guys trying to come up with something else to say. Hello, Sarah. Bill hasn't made it here yet, but it's nice to see you.
It's always, it's always hard to get in on this show on the weekend, just because everybody's doing stuff Saturday night. So.
Yep. This is true.
So we appreciate y'all being here.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
And despite everything, with the weather and all, and it being very cold outside at the moment.
Yeah, Ringgold's got a whole 26 degrees.
We're a little bit warmer than that, but not much. And Lindsay just loves the little weather station that I got for her in the living room. It's one of those nice with a full color display, and when the barometric pressure drops, all of a sudden a little cloud comes up and it starts raining. It's pretty neat. I got a little simple one for me back here because all I really need to know is how cold it is outside and how warm it is in the house, and that's all this one does.
We've got a few thermometers outside that we can kind of count on. Hey, check that out.
Yeah, there's Bill.
Oh, no, Sarah, I'm late.
Sarah's here waiting on you.
Oh, okay. I've been working on getting Nita Lanning's sketch together so I can mail that off to her on Monday morning, and then texting with Laura, and then I'm like, oh, crap. It's like I didn't realize what time it was.
Oh, that happens sometimes.
I heard this thing. It's in the news today. I'm going to go ahead and read it to y'all because it just really kind of blew my mind. So, just the things that soldiers have to go through sometimes.
Yeah.
And this one was: a soldier was killed on active duty, and now his parents are fighting to use his sperm so that they can have a grandchild, says reports. And this is from the Israeli Defense Forces. There's this guy, and I know I'm gonna butcher his name, but Amet Ben Yagal. I think I got it close.
That's close, as far as I can understand.
He was killed in 2020 in an arrest raid on a Palestinian village. His parents retrieved his sperm and are now fighting for a new law to allow them to have grandchildren. Now, here's the part that got me. Yigal's father told the Jerusalem Press that 182 women have volunteered to be surrogates.
Was the guy married?
I'm guessing no, but
okay, that would make sense because I would think that if he had been married, then his wife would have a better claim on his sperm than his parents. But I don't know what the laws are like in Israel.
Well, that's the other thing. They don't have a law for it. I don't think that's what they're talking about in the article is that they don't have a law to permit bereaved parents to use the sperm of their dead children, and the couple's lobbying to have that changed. And then, but I'm curious. I mean, he's an okay-looking guy, but 182 women, that's. Did he get that much nookie before he died? Well, I want to know.
It might just be the hero effect.
I think it was only 181. I think they're just glorifying this story.
Oh.
Anyway, let's see. Let's find some more news. Unless y'all got something about that.
Oh, no, nothing at all. I'm just trying to think of the next thing that would be cool to say.
If you do, let me know.
Well, evidently I am failing miserably, but
Well, I do here in a little bit have a couple of oh crap! Forgot to put my pen back.
Have you?
I have a
heard,
couple.
Have you heard the latest? Joni Mitchell is having her music taken up with Spotify in solidarity with
Yes.
Neil Young. And I just saw the latest. Yoko Ono is threatening to put her music on Spotify if Joe Rogan's not booted. So,
but what I saw was Nickelback has threatened to put their music on Spotify. If they
I'm sure that it's already on Spotify. I don't get the Nickelback hate. I really don't. I've heard like 5 or 6 of their songs on the radio, and they're not bad.
I don't think they're nothing special, but they're nothing horrible either at the same time.
There's 1 or 2 that I really like. Evidently the cat came in and left the door open. What, you born in a barn?
Look what the cat drug in.
Yeah, the cold. It's 15 degrees cooler in the rest of the house than it is back here, and now my heater just kicked on. So I will close the door. It's only 2. Give me 3 steps, and I'll be right back.
Give him 3 steps, you'll never see him no more.
Yeah, that's what I've heard before in the past. Well, I get goofing around at doing things, and then I just totally lost track of time tonight. I don't know.
It's a case of exit stage right. Oh. Let's see now. Where were we?
Right here. Or no, maybe we were over there. We better get back there.
Hey, this is not that feng shui thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we've already had two bots, and we weren't even 10 minutes into the show yet. And here's the third.
Give me 3 bots. Give me 3 bots, Dan.
And a big old hammer. Blacksmithing was a career that ran in my family. I kind of wish that I had taken it up as a hobby when I was younger. I can read about it and mess around with it now, but it would take me a while to learn all the necessary skills, and I've got too many other irons in my fire at the moment. Well, that was an unintended pun, but it worked.
When I was a Civil War reenactor, you get to learn to do your own cooking. Mm-hmm. And we kind of wanted to do it anyway for the authenticity.
Yeah.
To cook actual meals that they ate then. And we thankfully had a person that volunteered to be our camp cookie. And anyway, he really heavily researched a lot of the recipes. So we said, okay, well, I had a Dutch oven, cast iron Dutch oven, and a couple skillets, things like that, but we never really had our own set of irons, our cooking irons and our grate and the tripod and the whole 9 yards. And there was a actual blacksmith at Billy Creek Village outside of Rockville, Indiana, where we always had our, you might say it was our home event.
Yeah.
There, because we were all around there, and we were portraying the 14th Indiana Company A Infantry, which they were heavily involved in a lot of the engagements during the war. But anyway, man, I didn't realize how expensive a set of cooking irons could be.
Oh, Lord.
And the three of us were kind of pooling our funds together to pay for it. And then we ended up having to say, look, we're going to need others to help us out because, and there goes my little thing here. But yeah, we're going to need others to help us out, basically.
Yeah.
And it just was one of those situations. Hang on 1 minute and I'll be right back. I'm having technical difficulties here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you'd be amazed at what that sort of camping gear will cost, even from a mail order catalog company, and you know it's not as good as something handmade by a real blacksmith, but even decent factory made, it is really expensive. If you find something like that cheap, then you know it's not all that well made, or it's from a surplus store.
Army surplus store that sells
Well,
gear, so that's a good place to look.
Yep. Well, I've got a lot of camping gear from Army surplus stores over the years. I really should get myself a toolbox, one of those nice little watertight ones, and go down to the shed and gather up all my cooking gear for camping that I can lay my hands on, and stash it with the emergency gear for the house, like for tornado power outages and winter storms and stuff like that, to where I don't have to go down to the shed with a flashlight and try and find it in the middle of the night. So I had a fair amount.
What Bill's doing over
there. Reassembling whatever fell apart, obviously.
It looked like a baby swing or something.
It's the stand for the camera and the tablet. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Now, well, this little stand that looks like a Stretch Armstrong thing here, it bends. But unfortunately, when it bends, sometimes it goes snap, or it bends and starts going down lower and lower and lower. So, yeah.
It took me a long time to find a good place to set up this camera. And I could have it an inch or two closer to my face, but that would mean that every time I moved the iPad, the camera would fall down.
I'll just hold it right here like this all night. But
be careful, the FBI might be looking for them fingerprints.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, as I was telling John, even the mail order catalogs of hunting gear, all that stuff you were talking about, the tripod, the grate, all that is not inexpensive. Even if the quality is not anywhere near what your friend the blacksmith could have made for you.
We watched him make ours. That's how great it was. He did a exemplary, just a wonderful job. And so I didn't really care about the price so much a little bit later on as I did initially, because I thought, well, you know, I know what things cost if you went to the Walmart or whatever, buy a Lodge brand cast iron skillet and such. But oh my God, I thought we were buying a used car there for a moment, We went on about it. And,
Bless you, John.
Yeah. John needs something, hot toddy or something.
He's got cough drops. Evidently, they ain't working real well. They were working real well before. Maybe they're just wearing off. Yeah, but when you first started using that gear, I bet you were a little bit more satisfied with what you got for your money.
Oh, yeah. They're still using it. 25, 26 years later, we did not have one piece that broke or doesn't work as good as it used to. I mean, it's freaking cast iron, for one. For two, it was forged really well, especially the tripod.
Yeah. I imagine it would have to be. Because it's got to do a little bit more than stand there and look pretty. It's got to hold up the cast iron cauldron or the Dutch oven and the weight of the food and do the job of letting you get the cooking implement closer or further from the fire as need be. There's a lot of stuff I have gotten as camping gear over the years that looked like a good idea at the time, but it didn't stand the test of time. Some of it just hasn't lasted. Some of it has, some of it hasn't.
Yeah, a lot are like that. It's you just live and learn.
Well, and then you get what you pay for. There's been several times here that I've had to tell Lindsay, no, let's not get the cheap stuff. This is going to have to last. Let's go ahead and get the good stuff this time. It's either that or like Sam Vime's theory of boots prosperity. You can buy the cheap stuff over and over again every 2 or 3 years, or you can buy the good stuff and have it last for 20 or 25 years.
Well, that's what I did here recently at Rural King with having to buy boots.
There you go.
One.
What was the most popular food done by your cookie?
Bacon.
Bacon?
Plain and simple. And you know how we did it. You think about laying out strips of bacon on a skillet side by side, frying them that way, and then flipping them over. They laid them in the Dutch oven. They would still do the layers, and then they would cross over the opposite way with layers on top, and they would do this about 3/4 of the way up from the bottom to the top of the Dutch oven. It literally fries in its own grease. Don't have to add a blessed thing to it. You cover it up, put the lid on the Dutch oven, and let it go, and you leave it, and it came out wonderfully crisp every time. You think, oh, laying bacon on top of other bacon and 3-4 layers thick, and that would have been soggy limp bacon. Absolutely not.
Nope.
So but
there was one camping trip we took back when you could still go camping in Tallulah Gorge. It had not been bought by the state of Georgia and turned into a state park with no camping allowed and entry only by permit. The way it is nowadays, you could just drive up to where Walunda had his steel cable stretched across the gorge for his tightrope walking, and get your pack, get all your gear together, and start. You could go the hard way down or the easy way. Well, not the hardest way down, but the more difficult path down or the easier path down, which kind of meandered around instead of going down the steeper slope. When it's time to come up, most people take the steeper slope and just come up a little bit slower. But we would go down there with there'd be 2 or 3 of us and have backpacks full of food and camping gear that we'd collected over the years and army surplus and things like that. And one year, a fellow brought 2 squab, and we just he brought the rotisserie off of a camping grill. It was one of those that you turn it by hand. It didn't have a little motor or anything. That would be kind of useless down there. Don't have a drop cord that's going to reach 1,100 to 100 feet. So we rigged up a way to have it braced up on each side over the campfire, and he put the little birdies on there, and we grilled them to perfection. And I believe we had a couple of vegetables to go with it that were in Army surplus, the flat surplus frying pan and little pie plate top, the ones where the handle spun around to clamp everything together. You know what I'm talking about there, John?
Yeah.
That might be a little bit older style. I'm not a historian, so I don't know if it's World War II or Korea or maybe even earlier, but it's definitely not the one that the canteen fits down in. So had all that stuff in there, just going to town on it. We ate really well that night, and I believe we went off about 100 yards or so further down the trail from where our camp was, with my little collapsible shovel, little foldable shovel, and dug a hole and put the chicken bones and everything else in there, about 100 yards away from the campsite. So instead of having it right there or just tossing the stuff in the fire to burn, we didn't want to attract any of the wildlife. I have woke up on one side of the river, looked out of my sleeping bag, and there's a nice little 6-point buck standing on the other side of the river getting a drink. And he knew I was there. He'd raise his head and look at me. As long as I didn't move, he wasn't going to either, except to get a drink. And then about the time I was ready to start boiling water for coffee, he turned around and ambled on down the trail. That was fun. Wish I'd had a camera, but me moving probably would have scared the shit out of him, and I wouldn't have got a picture anyway. Sometimes I miss that, and then I realize I'm getting a little old for that shit. I've been watching a YouTube channel called Corporal's Corner, and this guy does all kinds of solo overnight camping stuff with sometimes he tests out store-bought camping gear, and sometimes he uses army surplus from various eras, and sometimes he just goes out there with a little foldable shovel and a couple of a little foldable saw and whatnot, and just makes a shelter instead of, and you might have a good tarp that's pretty waterproof on one side, and have a like one of those space blankets reflector sheets on the inside, and just make a shelter and have a campfire, cook out. I commented on one of his videos. He really ought to put together a cookbook of some of the stuff that he has whipped up, because it made it look really good, and it was cheap and cheerful and quick. Most of the stuff, you wouldn't have to worry about set your fire to 450 degrees for 45 minutes. But no, you just get your coals there and put your pan or your cook pot or whatever in there and heap up the coals around it, let it go. Or he has one of those it's old school sort of camp griddle. It's a metal stake you put it in the ground, and it has a grate on a long arm that you can raise and lower, and it just, by gravity, it just holds itself in place on that stake, and you can actually swivel it over the fire and bring it out away if you want to turn your bacon over or whatever. He's got a nice channel. I highly recommend it for anybody that's into camping gear, and an outdoors experience.
And what was the name of the show again?
Corporal's Corner. That's his channel. He's got about 140, 142 videos now. Some of them, he's even done casting bronze videos early on, I do believe. And we has a John B. Pica. Hey, John.
Hi, John.
Yeah, long time no chat. We're hanging in there. We're doing pretty good. Joe Dog and Stephanie are under the weather, so we're kind of flying blind on a rocket cycle tonight.
Chris said he was going to try and be on. But...
Yeah, Chris said he was going to try and be on. He's probably putting the groceries and stuff away and taking a shower, and usual after work stuff. Or maybe he sat down with a bottle of Statesman bourbon and forgot all about us.
That's a possibility.
Yes.
Well, I have, and I'm trying to find it, a couple this day in history things, just in case, let's see. Okay. I'm like, I got something here from my postal service. Says your store order confirmation. I ordered 4 of the rapid tests, the ones that they're giving away free.
Yeah.
And I guess I got the confirmation in that. When it'll be sent here, I'm not too certain. But anyway, if I can find it, here it is. There's a birthday, it's not a birthday, it's an anniversary of a book. And speaking of books, I saw, let's see, where was I? I was in Walmart tonight because I had to get more of these cardboard mailers and to mail my sketches off in, and I saw a Cthulhu book there, H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu. There looked to be about like 22, 24 stories maybe.
Mm-hmm.
A really nice leather-bound book, kind of a slick leather-bound green, and for like around $10. And it was about this thick.
It wouldn't have been bad, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't pick it up. I probably should have, because although I've read some H.P. Lovecraft in the past, that's when I read it, in the past. I mean, I need, and I liked them, and hearing you talk about it last night in the green room, kind of put me to mind of them again. And then when I saw it today, I thought, oh crap, somebody's trying to tell me something.
Well, that's the way it works out sometimes. Yeah, I'm reading a collection of Cthulhu mythos stories. Basically, it's not just Lovecraft. It's all the other writers that were, well, not all of them, but a lot of the other writers that were in the group of people that he had correspondence with. They'd send letters back and forth to each other, and little fragments of stories, and basically live in each other's pockets as far as a group of writers is concerned. Share ideas and things like that. So one of the other writers was Robert E. Howard, that created Conan, and then Clark Ashton Smith and Frank Belknap Long. Haven't seen the one by oh heavens! Now I know his name. I just can't. My mouth will not say it. It's the guy that wrote Psycho, the original. Anyway, he was a very, very young member of the Lovecraft mailing list sort of group, and haven't run across that one in the book yet, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's there. I've read some stuff by writers whose names I recognize, but the stories I had never seen before, so that's doing pretty good. Basically, the writers from Weird Tales just collaborate. Robert Bloch, thank you very much. Yes.
I couldn't think of it either, and I had to look it up. Yeah, he hadn't been with us for a while. He died in 97, 98, something like that. But no, I have actually one. They're both authors. One is a birthday, but one's an anniversary. And I probably should put my cheaters on to read this. I get these in Garrison Keillor's The Writer's Almanac, which I get it sent to my email every day. I've subscribed to it. And yes, Dan, I'm friends with Garrison Keillor on Facebook. Before you ask.
Oh,
have been for quite a while, actually. But on this day in 1845, it was then that Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Raven, was published in the New York Evening Mirror. It says, of course, obviously it was a huge sensation, and Abraham Lincoln actually memorized it, and Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote a fan letter to Poe. He was paid $9 for The Raven, and it was extensively reprinted without his permission, but there was nothing he could do about it. He had written an unsigned article for the Mirror before about copyright law, saying without an international copyright law, American authors may as well cut their throats. But there was no such law in 1899. His income in 1844 was $424. And in 1845, after the poem was published, his income was only $549. So another one of those stories about something. I mean, he could have lived off of that alone if they did have the copyright laws back then that they do now, or even half of them. But it was not to be the case. And of course, the other one, well, there's just too many of his to mention that I think he could have lived off of. Hi, Keisha.
Yep. And you know what it tells me? Publishers are not paying writers any better now than they did in the 1800s.
Yeah. Talk about the 1840s income or prices. The other one today, it's actually a birthday of writer and politician Thomas Paine, born in Thetford, England, 1737. He moved to Philadelphia in 1774. He was 37-year-old unsuccessful writer and became wildly successful in the colonies with his long essay that we all know as Common Sense, which he said the cause of America is in great measure the cause of all mankind. And the pamphlet sold more than 100,000 copies by the end of 1775. And of course, the American Revolution began the very next year. And that, so I feel like Walter Cronkite doing a bicentennial minute on that one.
Yep.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Saturday.
That's the rest of the story. Good night. Or good day. Whatever he said.
Keep smiling till 10 o'clock and the rest of the day can take care of itself.
I heard somebody was going to do kind of a rest of the story style thing to be put on radio.
John Tesh, didn't he do it for a while?
Don't know.
I don't know.
I saw John Tesh on a lot of those, I hate to call them tabloid news shows, but basically that was the format they were using. And then found out that, let's see, he was either conducting orchestras or was a piano player with orchestras. I can't remember which.
Well, you know, he does the big synthesizer thing. So
okay, so keyboard player. There you go.
I don't know if he actually plays them or just pokes enough button to get them going on their own and leaves them alone for the rest of the
day. Yeah, well, it's...
No, he's actually supposed to be really, really good.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to fake. You can tell when somebody's just hitting the right notes by accident and getting lucky, like I do. So...
I don't know. I've heard a lot of your stuff lately. And you must be very, very lucky.
Well, there's not a lot of it where I'm actually playing an instrument. A lot of it I'm just sort of writing the music. So.
Speaking of very lucky, before I forget it, something I heard on WBBM today, they said, if you're ever... whether I guess be at a Chinese restaurant or whatever, and you get the fortune cookies with the little paper fortunes in them, if they have lottery numbers on it to play, don't discard those necessarily. One guy, I guess, in West Virginia used the lottery numbers suggestion from the fortune cookie, played the lottery, and won $4 million with those numbers.
There's going to be a lot of fortune cookies sold here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, you'd think.
It's going to be very good for the fortune cookie manufacturing company. Oh, what was it? There was one book I was reading.
I've actually got a whole drawer full of these in the other room.
Oh, yeah.
We know what John's going to be doing tomorrow.
Just because they used to have this thing at this Chinese restaurant I went to. They had a little thorn bush out front. And if you didn't think your fortune was any good, you'd stick it on one of the thorns on the thorn bush and then pray for better fortune. So, apparently, technically, you're not supposed to get rid of them. So.
Mm. Well, I've probably got a bunch of them scattered around in various boxes and dresser drawers that have not been cleaned out in years. But
so they may not. Basically, they may not bring you good luck, John. But if you get rid of them, they could bring you bad luck.
No, they could bring somebody else good luck, and I can't have that.
Oh, well, no. The hell with them.
Yeah, exactly.
it's not enough that I succeed. Everyone else must fail. I've always thought that was a very selfish attitude.
What makes the success that much better?
Well, yeah, Sarah, I do. With the computer, what I do is like playing with Lego bricks. There's these little pre-recorded short sections of music, one instrument or two instruments playing in harmony, or a drum, or a little sound effect. And there's a program I use that will let me piece these together and build on those and
Keep talking, I get it.
Correct. Connect the dots, so to speak, or pop together the Legos and make a really nice little piece of music. I'm quite fond of I guess it's a steampunk influence, actually, of using rock and roll band instruments and then putting a full orchestra with them. And that goes back to the 1960s when I was a kid, if not earlier. My parents listened to a lot of big band music and swing band music and jazz when I was a kid. So I got a soft spot in my heart for large ensembles of musicians. So, and I also like rock and roll a lot too. So, yeah, it's all of my stuff is over on Bandcamp. You just go to the Bandcamp site and search my name, and you'll find it. Okay, I understand. Yeah. I can't say that I have ever purposely set out to make something that sounded like church music, but occasionally it might happen by accident. And I see nothing wrong with that. What was it? I've got 9 albums over there on Bandcamp, and so far there are 3 of them from back when I was in a garage band where I'm actually playing a real instrument, usually bass guitar. But they are very, very raw because we were very, very immature. So they're fun to go back and listen to every once in a while. I get frustrated that I was not able to make better recordings of what we were actually doing, because there are times when you've either got to play or you can mess around with the levels on the recorder in order to try and get things right. So it really messes things up to try and do both at the same time. Oh, well, I'm going to have to step over here to the fridge and probably have to step away to the restroom as well. It is cold beer time. So, and thank you for thank you for getting that other bot there, John. It was really hard for me to move the mouse and figure out which button to click and keep my mouth going at the same time.
So here's a question, and maybe John Pica. Yeah,
that ought to get him.
John Pica, if you're still out there, stupid question time involving comics, or John Scarborough. Either one. I got to get some acid-free comic bags.
Yeah.
And they got to be larger than a standard modern comic. So I know they make Silver Age comic bags and then Golden Age comic bags, but I'm trying to remember what the actual size of a Golden Age and a Silver Age bag are.
I'd have to go Google. So.
And I keep looking. Oh, wait a minute. Silver Age. Oh, I found them right here. So Golden Age is 7 5/8 by 10 1/2. Silver Age is 7 1/8 by 10 1/2. And then the modern is 6 7/8 by 10 1/2. That's why we keep getting ripped off on comics, and they charge more now too. So, $150 count. Laura has an Amazon Prime membership, so when I need certain little things like that, I look it up. She says, find it on Amazon if you find it cheap enough, and that, which these are cheap enough, they're $12. And then she sometimes gets some discounts on top of that. Plus it gets to you in like 2 days. So anyway, but when I was getting Nita's sketch put together, I realized I had about 3 or 4 bags left. I'm like, oh, that ain't good. Because I used acid-free bags to put them in, and then I used 2 acid-free backing boards, one on each side. And then, of course, they go into cardboard mailers, so this chances of them getting bent, folded, spindled, or mutilated are less than none. So far, at least, knock on wood.
I've had our local mail carrier just kind of curve them and slide them in the mailbox. Didn't really put a fold in them, but I had a moment of panic when I realized that I had not installed insulation inside my mailbox. It was a cardboard mailing envelope, and it had been arched up like a railroad tunnel, so had to maneuver it out of there and hope that I didn't damage anything worse than having it stuffed in the mailbox would. They were in a hurry. I can't blame them. I mean, plus my driveway's in a very bad curve for anybody to be pulling in and then trying to back out into the road and get back onto the pavement. There have been several people, about 24 car wrecks, either right in my front yard or within 100 feet of my front yard. It's that bad of a curve. People drive entirely too fast on this road. Everybody, there's a countywide Facebook thing they were calling rants and raves, and a lot of people that live on the road were on there and complaining about this white pickup truck that's just flying up and down the road all the time. Why didn't the police do anything about it? Somebody saw it parked outside of the house that policeman lives in on the road. So they figured it's just the cops. He gonna have to give himself a ticket.
Might have been what did they call it, a plane wrapper back in the CB days?
Nope, he was just on his way to work or from work to pick up his patrol car.
Mhm. Well, I have one of our town cops living right across the road from me to the west, and then across the street that I live on to the east is Oakwood Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And then down at the end of the block is Oakwood Fire Department. So I'm set up pretty good here.
Yeah, really.
Need an ambulance or have a fire or a burglar, and they don't have far to go.
Just open the window and start hollering.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's fine. Or also, in my case, I can open the window and start shooting.
Well, that's
and that works too.
Yeah, somebody will show up eventually, find out what you're pissed off about.
When I point to the burglar laying in the yard, they'll pretty much figure it out.
Oh, Lord.
Well, they wouldn't be laying in the yard. Legally, they would have to be in my residence.
Yep.
In a room where there is no exits. So that would be one of probably 3 rooms plus the hallway. And I actually had a Danville cop tell me that one before. He said, well, if they come in your living room through the door in your living room and you have to shoot them, drag them into the dining room where there's no door.
That wouldn't work. That's where the other door out is in our dining room.
Oh, really? Okay.
If they make it to the hallway, they're fair game.
Well, mine's the living room and the kitchen as far as in and out. So
they would be between us and both exits of the house. So I hate to tell them.
When I took my concealed carry course, they said you only had to prove 3 things. That 1, the person was a threat. Didn't have to be armed. Didn't have to have a knife or a gun or anything like that. He just had to be a threat and capable of doing bodily harm to you. 2, so what was it? He had to be in the process of aggressive activity.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, he's doing something that makes you feel threatened. And
he's breathing. I'm threatened.
Hey, in Tennessee, whiskey breath can be a lethal combination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like stop or I'll shoot.
Yep. What was the third reason?
Obvious, or you're trying to save somebody else's life.
Okay.
In other words, it doesn't have to be just a threat to you.
Yep. I figure kicking in the front door is about as obvious as I need. So if they bust into the house and they get as far as the hallway without turning around and running away, I'm going to be real pissed at all the holes I'm going to have to shoot in my videotapes. That's one reason why I haven't bought a shotgun for home defense. I would shred my library.
Depends on what you
like Dan's got a gun safe, but he don't have his guns in it. He's got his books in it.
I wish. I need a fireproof vault.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the books. Of course, it'd have to be bigger than the house. You have seen the pictures that I've got posted on my Facebook where I walked around the house and took pictures of every room, and it's just like wall to wall bookcases or DVD cases, or I've got underneath the TV sets about 400, 500 vinyl albums. So I've even got a walk-in closet that I had to put a bookcase on one wall just because there wasn't any room in other places. Here in the office, I mean, where I have the green screen, it's like uh, bookshelves on two walls, and then there's a smaller bookshelf facing the open doorway, and then there's another bookshelf over on this other wall, just for enough when you open uh, the door handle and the latch mechanism doesn't dig into the wood of the bookcase. Uh, I built a floor to ceiling bookcase down the hallway, goes from the wall of the office to the wall of the next bedroom, and I've often thought about replacing the door of the next bedroom with something strong enough to mount a bookcase on, and then just leave a cutout for the door handle. So it would open up. It'd be like one of those little secret rooms behind the bookshelf, but everybody would know it was there. It's got a window pointing out the front of the house. I've got to clean that room out. It's become our uh, junk room. Lindsay calls it a lumber room. We've got stuff in there we don't have room to put anyplace else, and it's all stuff that we don't use that often. Uh, Steampunk costumes, computer parts that I should take off somewhere because they're really, really old and nobody's going to be able to build anything out of it anymore. I've already taken the hard drives out of them, and the RAM's no good because it's too old of a style. There's 2 or 3 toolboxes, uh, empty suitcases for when we want to pack up and go somewhere. That sort of thing. It's like a big walk-in closet that's almost completely impassable. You have to thread your way through the clothes racks to get to anything. I keep promising I'm going to go through my closet and throw away stuff that I haven't worn in almost 30 years. There's no way I can fit into it again. Well, not throw it away. Take it to Salvation Army or something. Let someone get some use out of it. It's perfectly good stuff. It's just I can't wear it anymore. And it'd be nice to be able to get to my toolboxes again, and I'd like to get some of them out of the barn, because I'm always having to go and buy a new tool because I can't remember what toolbox I put the other one in. And as soon as I do, I wind up finding it about 2 days after I need the tool. So I have not only built the all the bookshelves in the house, but my entertainment center. I built that, and actually, it started off really primitive. And when Lindsay and I got married, she asked me to go ahead and make it a little bit more fancy. And I finally stained it and put some trim work on it and put a back on it, things like that. And I've got an octagonal kitchen table and 3 bench seats to go around half of that I built out of just scrap lumber that was laying around. It had got tossed off a truck next to a trailer that I used to live in. So I got out the saw and everything and built a nice little table. I've got it so I can take a couple of screws out of the underside of the top, and it'll come apart. The tabletop will come off of the pedestal that it sits on, and the benches are not fastened together. You can move them as individual pieces, and it come in handy because I had moved 2 or 3 times after I built that. Uh, Lindsay says she wants a new kitchen table, but she doesn't want to get rid of that one because I made it. So I don't know where we'd put a kitchen table. We'd have to build another room onto the house. Basically, that's why I started buying ebooks instead of keep on buying paperback books. I've got no room for another bookshelf. There's no wall space left to put another bookshelf. There's either photographs on the wall or it's bookshelves. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. About yourself?
Oh, doing okay. Howdy, Facebook user, whoever you is. You have to go to, where is that thing? Oh, come on now. Oh, scroll
All
down.
right, Sarah. Have a good night. Glad you could join us for a little bit.
Is this the one? StreamYard.com/Facebook. That's where you want to go if you want us to actually be able to see your name. And you only have to do that once every couple of months.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 months or something like that.
Yep, and then they'll forget it, and you'll have to do it over again. But that's a nice little utility there to have. Oh, well, no, not quite.
Not in there yet.
Nope. StreamYard dash. Let's see. We've got somebody's watching on HallowCon's, somebody's watching on my Facebook, and two people are watching on Stupid Clock's Facebook.
Yeah, I'll look at HallowCon and see who's watching it. Yeah, let's try Stupid O'Clock.
Process of elimination. It's about time we had another spate of spam bots show up.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
They got smart and named their spam bot Facebook user.
Yeah, there you go.
Wouldn't that be a kick in the head?
Okay, Greg Casella is the one that said, howdy, guys.
Oh, okay. I just been chatting with him here on Messenger.
Okay.
And without saying any more, Greg, I'm sorry to hear what happened, but I kind of expected it, but we're all with you and I'm praying for you, buddy. But and I asked him if he wanted to come on, and he's not feeling it right now, so that's okay. And
really,
Greg, it's only showing up on Facebook. It is not showing up on StreamYard. I can't remember the exact link you're supposed to go to, but you're supposed to give StreamYard or Facebook permission to show up on each other. So,
and it's this one here, StreamYard/Facebook.
Yeah.
So, yep.
If you go there and grant permission, it should show you up on the chat. It wouldn't be the first time something didn't work.
This is true.
But to err as a human, to really screw things up, you need a computer.
Yeah, I find that does make it much, much better. Or at least easier.
Yeah. And the first rule of computers is every good computer should come with an even better ball bat.
Well, I'm moving more in the direction of a manual that was actually written for people that don't know a lot about computers, and in plain language. That's why I like the For Dummies books. They're really here you go, Bill. I just found this one. You were interested in the Corporal's camping channel. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Greg, I don't think it has anything to do with you shutting down your StreamYard account. It's just, I think you got to do it on Facebook. I don't think you need to go to StreamYard. But I can't remember.
I know that's what I had to. I don't know if Greg's on the computer or on his phone right now, but I know when I was on my phone, I had to go on Facebook to grant permission.
And you might have to pop out of the channel that you're in watching this on and then pop back in, and then it might work. Sort of like turning it.
Yeah, you might jump back in.
On again.
Yeah.
Because I think they did that to Keisha before. Or something like that,
Yeah.
So exit out of the live stream and then come back in it, and
it might work.
Yeah, it may work then.
You don't lose anything by trying.
Yep.
Right.
That's a nice thing about life, even if it doesn't succeed, you learn something.
And you're not going to miss a whole lot of comments, if any.
No, we're just kind of a quiet.
We'll have talked about 17 other things by the time he comes back. And that'll be just in a couple minutes.
Not
still would have missed anything.
I think a lot of people are just staying home trying to stay warm tonight because it's cold all up down the East Coast just about.
Yep. It's gone down another degree outside.
I
am continually turning my heater down because I got it to where I was comfortable, and now it's getting a little bit too warm. So I either take the house coat off or turn the heater down a little bit. And
mine's going the other way. I think I'm going to have to go. Well, of course, I just have baseboard heat here, so sometimes it takes a while.
To be honest, dressing warm and turning the space heater down saves me a little bit of money in the long run.
Yep, the clothes you got on, you already paid for, haven't you, Dan?
Mm-hmm. Paid good money for this house coat. Lester Dent doesn't even Lester Dent. Good Lord.
Yes, he is. Dan, while you're mulling that thought over, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of reverb.com as far as a place selling used instruments? I was on there.
I have not.
Well, I got sick last night, of course, and that's why I had to leave the green room early. And I was up till about 2-3 o'clock in the morning with that. Before I could get back to sleep. And so just something to take my mind off of my gunshot wound to the stomach, which is what it feels like. But I started fiddling around on things, and I'm a member in a Rickenbacker guitar and bass club, Facebook group. Not really a club, but a group. But anyway, and somebody was asking, hey, where do you buy your Ricks from? This and that. And I heard more than 4 or 5 of them say, oh, I bought mine on Reverb. And so I thought, okay, going to check this out. And got looking on there, and I'm like, oh, I'm in love. I saw a lot of 4003 basses that I would love to have and try and figure out, how long would I have to save to get that one? And they're, they go into detail telling you condition and a lot of photos and everything. So anyway,
Greg's going to try and switch to YouTube and see if it helps.
And I bet his name will come through on YouTube. But yeah, that's you ever get a chance, get on there, and I mean they have everything. It's not just Rickenbackers. It's Gibsons, Fenders, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kinds of tech equipment, anything music related, and they have. And there's a.
I do need to put my bass guitar and my 6-string in the shop and have the electronics totally rewired. And maybe even have the pickups replaced, because I've had them for a good 20 or 30 years, 25 years. It's got to be at least.
Yeah, I need to do something very similar with the Hofner. And I got a guy that said, there he is. There's Olden Wolf.
That worked.
I got a friend of mine, contact in Danville, that does repair instruments, and he said, hey, whenever you want. And said that about 3 years ago, so one of these days I'm going to have to take him up on it.
Yeah, I believe the one place that I knew I could get a good repair job done on my guitars was a local and called themselves a piano store, but they had everything. And I do not know if they have gone out of business in the last 5 or 10 years. Could be. I know that on the other side of town, there is a shop that does basically musicians that have bought an instrument and discovered that they have no time to practice to get good enough to be able to play and get themselves a gig at a nightclub or something, where they go and sell off the instruments that they bought.
It's working, Odin's Wolf.
Yep. Sad but true. You can buy something and expect to be an overnight sensation with it. If you don't have the time to put in the work, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like any other pursuit. You got to practice.
That is true.
Yep. You don't get any better by doing nothing.
Yep.
And wanting to play, and not just say to practice, but wanting to play at all, period, and that helps a lot. I know people don't have time that they could set, but I mean, even if it's an hour or two a week, that helps. It's better if you have a couple hours a day, but and then set some goals when you do it too. Don't just pick things up or whatever. And I used to put a Who album on the turntable or something, and then pull out my Ibanez 4003 Rick copy that I had back in 81, 82. And that just, it really was all right for a while, but then I started kind of getting a little bored about doing the same thing over and over. So then that's when I said, okay, it isn't a matter of learning this song or that song, but it's a matter of learning technique.
Yes. And the confidence to sit there or stand there and invent new bits and pieces while you're just noodling around. Just play something, teach yourself how to play something different, make up your own stuff, and learn how to do that, as well as it can be practiced to do. And then you can learn an awful lot by just starting off making up your own stuff. As long as you know how to tune the instrument, and you've got the amp, or it's acoustic and you don't need an amp, you just sit there and mess around with it till you figure out how to do stuff. It doesn't have to be something you heard on the radio. It can be something you hear inside your head. Try and reproduce something that you hear in your imagination.
I had a set of headphones that actually plugged into my bass, and then it had a little jumper on it that I could plug it into my stereo. That way I was not disturbing the rest of the family with the house going boom, 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 boom.
Yep, I can't tell you how many times the next door neighbor asked us to turn it down a little bit, or even in the daytime when I was just messing around by myself, or the cops showed up and told us to turn it down. So I had something rigged up with a mixing board where each of us could have our own set of headphones, and we could hear what we were playing in one ear and what everybody else was playing in the other ear, and just, mess with the volume in order to have it balanced out right. So you had a monitor of your stuff and a monitor of the rest of the band. Couldn't do anything about the drum roll. There's no way that you can put headphones on that and not make a noise still.
You remember the old-fashioned rubber drum pads that you could put over a snare drum? They used to call it a practice pad, and even that made a considerable amount of noise. But yeah, see, that's what I started out as a drummer, and that was totally annoying. And when I just kind of fell out of faith as continuing on with drums, I just thought, well, I'll do something else. And I know everybody in the family just had a great big continuous sigh of relief, like, yes, he's getting rid of the drum set. And then here, what is this? He comes in with the big old thunder bass.
Now, I actually had a little drum synthesizer, little box with buttons on it, and you could pop in a set of headphones, and once you figured out what button did which instrument, hi-hat or cymbals or bass drum or snare drum or tom-tom, you could actually play a decent drum beat on there. It took a little bit of practice, and you could program the darn thing where you just figure out what you wanted it to do and hit play, and it would do it for you. You could step back and jam along with it.
These headphones that I had, you didn't plug them into, you plugged them into your guitar, into the jack, of course. But there was never nothing else to plug it into an amplifier. What they did, they had it all in the wiring up in the headset, and it was a 9-volt battery that operated everything. That was the power. And now playing my bass or playing my little Gibson SG copy, which was the first electric guitar I ever bought, they didn't sound really great on that as it would like through my crate amplifier. But to practice while everybody's there, or if it's like, everybody went to bed and you can't get to sleep, and so you just want to fiddle about on the guitar something, then it's good enough for that. I think I paid a total of $19.99 for it or something at a music store.
Well, I had gone to the local Radio Shack when they sold something besides cell phones, because there weren't any cell phones at the time. I bought a couple of 6-channel mixing boards, and I had either a line in from the guitars or a line in from a microphone hanging over the drum kit and whatnot. So I had 12 channels there, and that fed into 2 cassette recorders, and that fed into a reel-to-reel tape deck. So I had a whole lot of mixing I could do, and there were all kinds of effects boxes hooked up to the different guitars, and I even had some effects boxes on my bass, which was groundbreaking at the time, but people do it all the time now. You could get some really weird special effects coming out of a bass guitar with lead guitar stomp boxes hooked up to it. I even had the fuzz box that Jimi Hendrix used. Well, not the actual one, but same brand, same model, and that was fun. You had to be careful with that stuff, though. If you didn't have it wired up exactly right, when you stopped playing, they would feed back on each other into the mixer and onto the recording. So you pretty much did not dare go totally silent without holding your fingers on the strings. Otherwise, there'd be all kinds of reverbs and howls and screeches in there, and you could actually play that as a totally new instrument. But one day I just hooked up everybody's effects pedals together and made an imitation synthesizer out of it. And I'm standing there with headphones on recording this, and I'm just messing around with the different settings on the different effects boxes, and you'd be really amazed at how much that sounded like some of the early synthesizer albums. They just had a basic one-tone generator and different things to modify it. That was fun for a week or two. I wrote down all the stuff so I knew how to make those noises again. But after that one little experiment, I never bothered with it again because everybody needed their effects pedals. So, and I did not have the money to go out and buy a duplicate of what everybody else had in order to string together a synth when I can just go buy a synth. It's much cheaper.
Yeah, it really sucked not having money back in the days when I had the inspiration to do things.
Believe me, inspiration can be the cause of not having any money sometimes.
Well, yeah, that too, but
for amateur musicians, pawn shops are your friend. You can find almost anything you're looking for if you prowl all the pawn shops in town. I got 90% of my stereo from pawn shops. I've got 90% of my musical equipment from pawn shops. I did have to go to a music store when I wanted to buy a brand new synthesizer. They had just come out with digital synthesizers, and nobody had pawned one. So I went to Atlanta, and I don't remember the name of the store, and this was pre-GPS, so I had to use a paper map to get myself there. And I'd go up there about every 3 or 4 months and look around, and if they had something on sale, I might pick it up.
Seems I saw something the other day that Radio Shack is making a small comeback.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, I miss Radio Shack too.
Are they doing it like how Toys R Us are doing it by just actually having a spot in somebody else's store?
I'm not sure.
Like a certain section reserved?
Don't know.
I don't know, but their problem is they tried to be like the Apple store, and they failed miserably.
Well,
they tried to upgrade their image and sell all these cell phones and iPhones and all that. And just totally went away from what made them great in the first place.
When they stopped selling electronic gear and affordable stereo speakers and record players and receivers and mixers and stuff like that, I had no reason to go back there anymore because, when they went to selling only cell phones, in this area, not many people except the cops and the drug dealers had cell phones, and I was neither one. So,
yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm reading it here. apparently they are going to in somewhere between 50 and 147 U.S. locations of Hobbytown, USA, the brick and mortar retailer for RC and other hobby supplies, will soon host a Radio Shack Express outlet. Each outlet will be up to 500 square feet of retail space devoted to electronic components that could be of use to Hobbytown's core customer base.
Oh, yeah.
So they are doing exactly what Toys R Us are doing.
Yep, using somebody else's store.
And hey, I get it. You can't just jump right back into the water again. And if they're successful with this, maybe that will be the next step of getting their own stores back. And I would love to see both back. I still have, to this day, one of my Archer Space Patrol walkie-talkies made by Radio Shack that came out in the mid-60s, early mid-60s sometime. I think 64, 65. It was gray. I have to bring it on the show sometime. I was looking, how it always is. You look for one thing and find 12 others that you didn't need, but you forgot you had.
Yep. I've got a realistic weather alert radio here that I bought back in the 70s. All I have to do is remember to change the batteries before they burst, and it will keep going forever. It's just a little transistor radio, but it's just for the Weather Channel.
This was a little 9-volt battery.
I think this uses a couple of AA's.
And then I remember we graduated to the bigger walkie-talkies that had the little Morse code red button that you go beep, 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 beep. And they actually had the Morse code listing on the front of the walkie-talkie. It was like, we thought that was the best thing in the world. Boy, this is high tech compared to what we had.
Believe it or not, Fred Snyder from the B-52s actually used one of those as a musical instrument on a B-52s song.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I believe it.
And it was just the one tone beep, 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 and they worked it into the song. They were very inventive folks there. The music scene in Athens in the 70s and 80s and 90s is really blown my mind. They were really creative people.
Well, you remember that the Clash used a digital watch alarm in their song "Rocking the Casbah," and it did did the Dixie horn. So,
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, like I said, and back in the day, people were inventing stuff. Of course, I guess they still are. It's just they're using different technology and inventing different things, because we did all the fun stuff back in the day. They got to find something new to invent.
That was a good time in the late 70s up to 81, 82, because I was so incredibly just puking over disco. Now, I wasn't that way at the beginning, some of the earlier stuff, but when it was all seemed to be synthesized, doom, 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 doom,
Yeah.
Which in the 80s and the 90s, it got worse. It just went from bad to worse.
I remember
but yeah, you talk about the Clash, and I remember buying the single Train in Vain with the cover on it. Of course, I was heavily into the Ramones and Blondie. The B-52s, probably about 82, 83.
Devo. Devo was everywhere.
Devo, oh my
Devo
Lord,
was
I was a big Devo
Yep.
fan. I had the picture disc that had their version of Secret Agent Man on it. There was a group called Split Ends.
Yep.
That they're
Brothers.
what was that?
The Finn Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. And they had that single called "I Got You."
Yep.
And the album that was off of, which I cannot remember the name of it right off the top of my head, I remember pulling the vinyl album out of the sleeve, and there's laser etching zigzagged all across. It looked like a normal vinyl, black vinyl album, but you had this laser etching. So when it's spinning on the turntable and the light catches it just so, that was incredible for 1979, 1980, around there. So I was really digging some of that stuff, and even some of the things I didn't think I would, like Wendy Williams and the Plasmatics, and
yep.
Buzzcocks,
Wow, wow.
the Bow Wow Wow,
Madness.
sorta.
Yeah.
Madness I dearly loved. I loved the Stooges and Iggy Pop. They were very revolutionary. And but yeah, it really, whatever was coming out of that scene, or we'll put it better, whatever was coming out of CBGB's, I was really digging back then, and I still love a lot of it. I especially love Blondie, and I'm still watching her videos all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I caught a couple of them just last month, I do believe. Just messing around, and there was a time when I would do YouTube surfing. Basically, I'd look up one band, and then there'd be a lot of suggestions after that video played, and I'd click on that and see where that, and eventually there would be this whole chain of music that I didn't set out to find, but I'm glad I did.
Well, Facebook videos to watch, I think, is the name of it, which is Facebook's version of YouTube. I post a lot of the stuff on the Everyday is Saturday group from the Facebook videos to watch. So a lot of times, like say on a Saturday morning, if I'm posting stuff on there, cartoons and things, I get up, take my shower, go in there, get my breakfast. I'll think, I want to watch one of these on the big screen. So I cast it on my Vizio TV. And when it's over with, if you don't load up the Queeve on it, they'll do the same thing, like what you said about the suggesting and that. So inevitably, there's always a bunch of Blondie coming up, and Who, and George Harrison, and Paul McCartney, and a lot of Beatles. A little bit of ABBA will come up every once in a while, just, Bob Dylan, what have you. But it typically, it seems like there's lately, I guess, more Blondie showing up on there.
There was something I thought of while we were still talking about Radio Shack, and I didn't want to forget it. I would love to see on their website do something like they used to have with the mail order catalog, and just everything that they used to carry, to have it listed on the website where you could order the stuff, even if you don't have a store that you can walk in and pick it out. What I wouldn't give for some of those Radio Shack speakers when I was rebuilding my stereo this last time.
What was their house brand? Optimus or something like that?
Realistic.
Realistic, okay.
And I think the high end was the Optimus. The Realistic was the well, I don't want to call it a bargain brand because it was really good stuff.
Upper mid grade. How's that sound?
Yeah, there you go. Much better than what you would find at some of the department stores.
Well, Emerson comes to mind. They weren't top shelf, but they weren't shabby at all.
Everything worked.
That was the JCPenney special.
Yep. If you had an Emerson turntable, that thing was direct drive, no belt to ever replace. All you had to do was worry about replacing the needle when it wore out. That thing would work forever. Matter of fact, we had something. It was a little kid's toy turntable, and the needle had worn down after many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a tube of super glue and an emery board and made a new tip for the needle out of super glue and just very carefully polished it down to a needle point, and that thing still worked. I mean, and it didn't carve up the record like you might think, like you think it would, but it was not as great as actually having a sapphire tip on a plastic tone arm, but it worked well enough for us to keep on listening to the Chipmunks and things like that. So,
did you ever used to do when you would get little skips in your records that you put the penny or the quarter on the tone arm?
Yep.
Where
it
try so it wouldn't skip over. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if you had a new needle, it might just carve through that skip and it would go away.
Oh, man.
That was rare, but it has been known to happen.
So in case you want to know how cold it is in Oakwood right now, Dan knows this because I was yeah, and if you read it, that's how cold it is. This is
yes, shrinkage is a thing.
This is something Laura turned me on to called What the Weather. It's a app on there, and it's for adults, but you can adjust the profanity levels in it. So I just have mine set on some, but you can have it set on, I think they should have a green room setting on it, but
that would be interesting.
Which I made Carl a new meme. He was going on last night about, original content and that. So I went ahead and took about 20 minutes or so tonight to make one for him and post it in his group. Just got to keep him happy.
Mm-hmm. I've got some original cartoons that I was doing back when I first started up Aphelion, and I posted one or two of them into the Secret Humor group. But most of the time when I am on Facebook, I am on the iPad, so I don't have access to stuff. I have to go to Facebook on my desktop computer and dig through all of the external hard drives to find the one that's in. Well, it's probably in 2 or 3 of them because I have backups of my backups of my backups, but I've had too many hard drive failures in my lifetime. I'm beginning to worry about my desktop computer because it's not acting up, it's not making any noises, but it is getting some age to it. So I want to make sure that thing does not go completely dead on me. I'd love to get something like this workstation here and have the internal hard drive of that computer cloned into the workstation. So I would have a much faster, much better computer, but still have the same exact file setup and everything else in it.
Well, I absolutely love the watermark thing that I found because I was so worried about, stuff. Well, the one thing that I posted yesterday, and then supposedly to that group, that's private, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing it in the news feed, not by me, but so the one I did tonight, I put my little logo on it, but I put it small and on the sign, and in the middle of the photo, and which most of the time I don't, like I say, I don't care, but I think Brian Morris was not the first one, but one of the first, probably 4 or 5 people that said, "Hey, it's great that you share some of your work, but you want to definitely get a watermark to put in there so people don't pirate it." And so the original ones was basically just a one that I created, which was a faded version of my logo, my artwork logo, and but you could still see it in there. And I thought, well, that's kind of poop on if somebody's wanting to see the picture and not see my watermark in there, because that, at least to me, on my own stuff, I'm not saying this on anybody else's, but on my own, when I was putting that in there, and anyway, I kept thinking, I don't want people to think that I think that they're thieves or something, they're going to steal something, and so I would just put it very, very, very faded as much as I could, or hide it within the sketch or something. But then when I found this new one where you can't see it at all until you try to print it, and then it's all over the page, I thought that was a whole lot better on that. But and I had that originally on the sketch that Nita bought, which she got the original, she didn't get a print. And then I try to do something a little extra just to tell people thank you. And so I did a little small miniature one that I added with her sketch, and I'll send that along in there with it to her too. But I don't have the great post office that Laura does over in Champaign. They're open until 5 o'clock on Saturdays. And even the Urbana ones even open until 3 o'clock. Well, she had to work till 4 o'clock. She sold something on eBay and had to go send it out. And so she, luckily enough, was able to, pack it up real good and get it sent off before they close. But for me, our local post office here in Oakwood is really good. And I told Nita, I said, I'll do it Monday morning, because when she bought it, I was just getting ready to go into the auction house. And so I said, I can't really do anything this weekend, and I'll be fine, So anyway, but I just, turned around and thought, well, I'll go ahead and send it Monday morning. And then that way I send back a tracking number for her. And then I also send her a screenshot of the receipt too, because on the receipt, it gives you a suggested time of when it's going to get there to her, which she lives in Louisiana. So I'm thinking probably 2 or 3 days tops, but they'll highlight it. The ladies there at the post office, they'll highlight that date for me, because I've gone in there with so many sketches before. As soon as they see me coming in with one of these, they know what I'm mailing.
Yep.
And
they know to get out the good stamps.
And I never seal it yet, not because they have to inspect what's being mailed. Yeah. They just say, hey, can I see what sketch you're mailing off? And they just, which I think is adorable, and I appreciate that. So I always leave it open, and if they ask, I let them see it, and then they get me all set up to send it out. So we've done pretty good with it, and so I figure Monday morning, and she said no hurry, so
Yeah.
she was real good about it, and she even told me like a week ago or so. She said, "Hey," she said, "if you got somebody else wanting that," and I said, "No," I said, "it was a warm-up sketch, and it wasn't meant for anybody initially, unless you wanted to buy it, and since she showed interest in it, I told her I would hold it for her, and if anybody else saw it and they liked it as well, I would say, well, unfortunately, the original is no longer available, but you can buy a print for a good amount of cheaper price, of course, just being a print, but I would still personalize it to them."
Yeah. And it wouldn't have the watermark.
And it wouldn't have it. No, none of them
None
would
of the,
not have a watermark, because
none
I
of
have
the
a
prints
separate.
that people buy from you will have the watermark. Anything that they download and try and print on their own will have the watermark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I keep a separate file of my sketches that I use for prints, and that more so I don't screw up on my own with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I was today. I was updating the Rising Tide broadcast schedule card that I made, and there are some new shows that have been added, and some familiar faces that are on hiatus, and it looks. I'm not quite 100% satisfied with it. I did have to change the line spacing on some of it to get it to all fit in on one screen. So let's see. There we go. I'll just go ahead and pop it up here now. Let everybody see it. I uploaded it to us, so it's still in there. You can see it's still split up by the days of the week. It's I put a couple of things in there just as spacers to make it even out, and then see the new shows. There's something that drops at random times on Tuesday, and that is Greg Soros. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And then Rick Bradley has a gaming show on Monday in Michaela's old slot. And then where Glenn and Ted had their rumor mongers on Wednesday night, they're I guess I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, but Brian wants to put sort of a best of show where rerun episodes will happen from lots and lots of people's shows. Just, in some of ours, maybe some of the clever title pending, and just anything else.
Right.
And there was something else. Oh, yeah. Ted and Glenn's new Comics Unlimited show is on Thursday mornings. So everything is still in there. It still looks nice the way it used to. Like I said, I'm not really happy with having the line spaces all bunched up like they are. But
now with that, I heard him talking about that Comics Unlimited show before. is Comic Book Spectrum officially over?
No.
And that's. Oh, okay. No. I thought maybe one was replacing the other one, but
nope. This is just one of the things that Ted and Glenn are doing while they're taking a break from Truthmongers. They've got they've got some. It's concentrating on stuff like Glenn's book about. I'm so bad with names. God, that was a quote from Fifth Element. Jack Kirby and other stuff as well. And then they have not made the from the trenches of Hollywood. They have not made that a Rising Tide show yet, as far as I know. At least nobody has told me they have. So. Anyway, the schedule, I spent most of the day messing around with the schedule and then uploaded it and put the link on the Rising Tide showrunners page on Facebook, so they can get the link and just go ahead and download it there. It's on my website, so it's not going anywhere. As long as you can find the link, you can click on it and download it or whatever. I finally had the bright idea, instead of copying it to a thumb drive and moving it from one computer to the other, I realized that I'm using Chrome as my browser on both computers, and anytime I've got a link in one copy of Chrome, it'll update the other copy. Mm-hmm. So I just pulled up the link on the streaming computer here and downloaded it into Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. And I'm going to have to take off the ones where I'm reading the old schedule, because a lot of the shows are change times or just on hiatus or faded away. So those are no longer accurate. And then there are two that I've just got music behind. I'm going to have to put the new graphic in and redo that, but I didn't have time to do it today. Lindsay made fish and chips for supper, and after I ate, I got hit by the nap ninjas.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I have already got the other channel started. I am in it now. So at 2 minutes till, go ahead and start High Flight. And I'll wait for that to wind down. Last week, Thursday night, is like StreamYard was telling me it was time to go live, and High Flight was still playing. So I hate to overlap the things, but then, we're saving them to YouTube, so it doesn't make any difference. I mean, people watch them on their own schedule once they've been recorded and put online.
You want me to end this show?
Yep.
At 1:58.
Okay.
I mean, is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So,
and you can go start the other show.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank our special guest, the lovely Chris Walker, and our special artist guest, Bill Sartang, and our musical guest, Dan Hollyfield. I'm John Scarborough, and I drink beer. That's pretty much it.
But he's pretty good at drinking beer.
I'm pretty damn good at it.
And you didn't complain once, John, about that smelly Monty Python foot behind you.
I got a cold. I can't smell it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. And now we are winding down to the end of another broadcast day for Stupid O'Clock. I do hope that we have been entertaining in the absence of our peerless leader and the absence of our science guest of honor. So when they are no longer under the weather, I promise you, we will be even more entertaining because they will be here instead of having to listen to me ramble on.
But you do it so well.
I do it so often. I practice
Practice
a lot.
makes perfect.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. You got about 30 seconds, and right. I'm already heading over to the other room. I'm just going to
say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, con Dios.
I have slit the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, when never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.